At 4:50 in the morning, my doorbell was having a full-blown existential crisis. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, like it was trying to warn me the world was ending. Then came the pounding, heavy, frantic, the kind of knocking that makes you wonder if you forgot to pay your taxes or if someone mistook your house for a hideout. I stumbled to the door wearing gym shorts, one sock, and the kind of squint you get from 3 hours of sleep. On my porch, a bleary-eyed cop, a guy in a golf shirt clutching a clipboard like it was a security blanket, and Denise Crowley, president of the Maple Crest Reserve HOA, dressed in a reflective jogging vest, arms crossed, looking like she'd just returned from personally policing the local recycling bins. I hadn't even had coffee yet. Denise pointed a manicured finger at my face, voice ratcheted up to 11, and screeched that my lease had expired. I was, in her words, illegally occupying the premises, and apparently the whole universe agreed it was time for me to be evicted. Never mind, it was still pitch dark outside, and the only crime I'd committed was snoring too loud. The cop just stood there, eyelids drooping, probably wondering what he'd done in a past life to deserve this. The clipboard guy tried to look official, but honestly just looked like he wanted to be anywhere but on my porch at dawn. I stared right back at Denise, told her I owned this house and had for 3 years. She whipped out a printout, said her records showed this was a rental, and my lease ended at midnight like I was Cinderella, and my mortgage would turn into a pumpkin at 12:01. According to her, I was supposed to vanish before sunrise. Clipboard guy muttered something about how evictions usually don't happen at dawn, but Denise cut him off. This isn't an eviction, it's an enforcement action. I sighed and walked away because arguing with Denise at sunrise is like trying to outshout a leaf blower. She shrieked after me, but I ignored her, grabbed my deed and closing packet from the kitchen drawer, walked back and handed them to the officer. "Welcome to my favorite new game," I said. "Who actually owns the house?" The cop flipped through the folder, eyebrows climbing higher by the second. Denise just glitched, mouth opening and closing, stuck between outrage and confusion. And that, folks, is when the whole mess started to unravel. My name's Marcus Hale. I'm the type of neighbor every HOA should worship a work-from-home software engineer. Don't throw parties. Don't play drums. Don't even own a trampoline. My hobbies are making espresso, overwatering houseplants, and minding my own business. 3 years ago, I bought a house in Maple Crest Reserve, a peaceful, modern community with walkable trails and strong neighborhood pride, or so the brochures claimed. What that actually meant was they had strong feelings about where your garbage can sits and would not hesitate to email you about it. Still, the houses were nice, the price was right, and the HOA fees were supposed to cover amenities like a pool, a gym, and the world's saddest playground. At closing, the title company handed me a phone book's worth of paperwork. I signed until my wrist staged a walkout. The county officially recorded my name on the deed, and after a few years of mortgage payments and one kitchen remodel, the place was unequivocally mine. Enter Denise Crowley. Picture the neighborhood watch, aesthetic short blonde bob, matching athleisure sunglasses, dent on her nose, clipboard permanently attached to her hand. She introduced herself. My first week made sure I knew she was the HOA president, handed me a glossy folder and told me if I ever had questions about the rules I should ask her first, as if the rules had been chiseled on stone tablets by the HOA gods themselves. Inside the CC&Rs, a novella of forbidden activities, a welcome letter, and a cheerful community guide that was basically just a list of things I was not allowed to do. No illegal activity, no broken down cars, no goats. I don't own goats, so no problem. For 3 years, things were mostly tolerable. Sure, there was the occasional passive-aggressive email about my recycling bin being visible for 11 extra minutes, or a warning about my non-compliant Halloween pumpkin because it had fangs, or a stern notice when my grass hit 325 inches. Annoying, sure. Life-ruining, not even close. Then the rental on the corner sold. Then another. Then another. Suddenly, Maple Crest started filling up with renters. and Denise absolutely lost her mind. You'd think renters were going to roll in and start painting the sidewalks neon green. Anytime a moving truck appeared, Denise would materialize with her clipboard like she was Border Patrol. She started sending all neighborhood emails about preserving ownership culture and maintaining standards. Subtle as a hammer. When an investor who owned a townhouse 2 streets over started defaulting on fees, Denise took it like a personal insult, ranted at every board meeting. Yes, they were recorded and posted online, that renter-occupied homes caused 90% of our problems. So when some property management company messed up their records and flagged my home as renter-occupied, it was like giving Denise a loaded Nerf gun and telling her it was a bazooka. It started small. I got an email labeled Lease Renewal Reminder telling me my lease at 218 Grove Willow was expiring. I replied, "Not a tenant, I own the place. Please fix your records." No response. I shrugged it off as spam. Then came a violation notice addressed to tenant at 218 Grove Willow, citing cluttered porch, 2 chairs and a fern, a supposedly non-compliant grill, and an unapproved exterior modification, my doorbell camera. Next, an email from Denise as a renter. I needed to remember that exterior changes required approval from both my landlord and the HOA. She said they had no documentation of me as an approved occupant and asked for a copy of my current lease. I replied, "I am the landlord. I own this house. Lived here since 2022. Here's my deed and tax statements." She didn't apologize, just said they'd look into it. Over the next 2 weeks, I got 3 more renter emails. My HOA portal suddenly showed late fees for some mystery landlord. My auto pay bounced because they'd reassigned my account to a property manager in Arizona. When I called the management company, the rep said her system showed a lease ending this month, owner listed as Grove Willow Investments, LLC. I told her I'm not an LLC, I'm just a dude with a mortgage. Sent proof of ownership twice. She said she'd escalate. Meanwhile, Denise escalated herself. I caught her photographing my windows one morning. I stepped outside, coffee in hand, asked what she was doing. She hit me with a toothpaste commercial smile and said she was documenting exterior conditions because there have been issues with renters at this address. I told her, "There's only ever been one occupant, me the owner." She tapped her clipboard. "According to my documents, this is a rental." That's when I realized she wanted my house to be a rental so she could control me as both resident and tenant. I told her to fix her paperwork and went back inside. That should have been the end. Instead, she set her alarm for 4:30 a.m. and called the police to my front porch. Back to the beginning doorbell blaring Denise on my steps, cop and clipboard guy in tow, insisting my lease had expired. The officer, Ramirez, his name tag said, looked profoundly tired, told me Ms. Crowley had reported an illegal occupation, that tenants refused to vacate after their lease ended and might become hostile. I asked if she'd really said that. He nodded. She'd also claimed I had a history of non-compliance and confrontations. News to me. I handed him my deed. Ramirez checked it, pulled out his laptop, typed for a minute, then nodded. County records confirm Marcus Hale as owner since April 2022. No liens, no foreclosure, everything clean. He turned to Denise. "This is not a rental and your records are incorrect." Denise flushed. Red snapped that the system must be wrong. Clipboard guy said they might be working from an outdated report. Denise insisted the board had voted to terminate my non-existent lease due to violations and that my refusal to leave was trespassing. I told her you can't terminate a lease that doesn't exist. And even if I were renting, the HOA had zero authority to evict anyone. That's for landlord-tenant court, not whatever this was supposed to be. Denise claimed I'd ignored multiple notices, installed cameras without approval, and worst of all, left my trash can out past 800 a.m. Truly the crime of the century. Officer Ramirez asked Denise if she'd told dispatch I was illegally squatting and might be dangerous. Denise hesitated, then admitted it. Ramirez sighed, said she'd made a false report, misrepresented her authority, and dragged him out at dawn for what amounted to a paperwork mess. He turned to me, asked if I wanted to file a report. I said, yeah, harassment, false report, and trespassing if she steps onto my property again. Denise's jaw dropped. She sputtered that she was the HOA president and this was part of her job. Ramirez told her, it's not your job to misuse 911 or impersonate a landlord. That's when I realized this was war fought not with fists, but PDFs. I work with databases. You know what makes my brain happy? Documentation. I spent the next week building a digital murder board, county records deed, closing docs, screenshots of payments, every email from Denise or the management company, that 4:50 a.m. lease termination notice she taped to my door. It literally said, pursuant to HOA authority and board vote, your lease is hereby terminated for failure to comply with occupancy documentation policies and repeated violations. Ordered me to vacate within 24 hours or face legal action. Newsflash: HOAs can't legally evict you from your own home even if they hate your Ring camera. I took everything to a real estate attorney, Jordan Mendez. Jordan flipped through the stack, let out a low whistle. Wow, she's ambitious. He said Denise's fake lease termination letter could count as attempted wrongful eviction. Her 911 call was a false report, and if she'd stepped on my property uninvited, that was trespassing. Plus, her tenant records were being used to treat me differently from other homeowners, which could be a fair housing violation if anyone wanted to get real spicy. He asked if I wanted to light her up. I said yes, maybe too enthusiastically. So we got to work, filed a harassment and wrongful eviction complaint with the city, sent a very lawyerly letter to the management company and HOA board, copied the HOA's insurance, and filed an open records request for the 911 call and police report. When the 911 audio came in, it was pure gold. Denise announcing she was the HOA president, insisting illegal tenants were refusing to leave, claiming she feared they might become violent. During this supposed standoff, I was wearing one sock and holding a mug that said "Introverts Unite Separately." Jordan just grinned. Yeah, she's in trouble. The management company, once they realized the county records proved I was the owner, flipped from "We'll escalate this" to "We had no idea. Please don't sue us in under 48 hours." They scheduled an emergency board meeting. I spent the weekend talking to my neighbors. Turns out Denise's antics were widespread. She'd measured one guy's grass, threatened another's kid with the cops over a crookedly parked car, sent lease verification letters to homeowners she thought looked too young. The whole neighborhood was a pattern of her power trips. At the meeting, people literally brought popcorn. The clubhouse looked like a beige email thread, harsh lights, folding chairs, everyone buzzing. Denise sat at the front like an empress, flanked by board members. The property manager announced the agenda, then called on me. I plugged in my laptop slide, "One who owns my house, spoiler me." County website deed, HOA payment history, their own tenant profile. Played the 911 call, room went dead silent. Next slide, a photo of Denise's 4:50 a.m. notice taped to my door. Next things the HOA can't do: evict residents, terminate leases, call 911 to remove owners. I read from Landlord-Tenant Code State HOA statute. Miss Crowley has repeatedly referred to me as a tenant, despite proof of ownership, treated renters as second-class citizens. That's not just obnoxious, it's legally risky. Murmurs everywhere, someone said, not quietly. She did that to me too. Next slide, anonymized emails from neighbors about her threats, inspections, comments about less stable streets. Property manager looked ready to quit. I said, "On advice of counsel, I've filed complaints with the city and state, retained an attorney for civil remedies. The responding officer documented the HOA president's report as inaccurate, displayed the police incident summary with every name blacked out but Denise's." Thundercloud silence. Then the insurance rep, who I hadn't even noticed, spoke up. If an HOA officer misrepresents their authority and abuses emergency services that create significant liability exposure. Translation, the money folks were furious. Denise grabbed the mic, barked that it was all out of context, claimed she was protecting the community from a dangerous squatter. The insurance rep shut her down. It's not your duty to impersonate a landlord, law enforcement, or property management. Then Ron, the board treasurer who hadn't spoken in 3 years, cleared his throat. I move that we remove Crowley as president immediately for misuse of authority and endangering the association. Silence. Then I second. Someone yelled, "Put it to a vote." 4 out of 5 hands went up. Only. Denise's stayed down. Motion passed. Denise removed as president, suspended from the board pending review. She sputtered, "You can't do this. I am the HOA. Without me, it'll be a rental free-for-all," someone from the back muttered. "Promise." She stormed out, knocking over a chair. The door slammed. My phone buzzed. Jordan City investigator opened a file on 911. Misuse management wants to discuss a settlement. The city fined her $1,500 for misuse of emergency services. Warned another false report could lead to criminal charges. My attorney settled a civil claim for harassment and wrongful eviction, covered my legal fees plus $5,000 in damages. Denise had to pay out of pocket. HOA insurance refused to cover her. At the next board meeting, when the manager read out the settlement terms, Denise sat in the back, arms crossed, face the color of a fire truck. She stood up, snapped, "This is ridiculous," stormed out for the last time. Within a month, a for sale sign popped up in front of her house. Not gonna lie, it felt pretty sweet. I never set out to go to war with an HOA president. I just wanted to live in my house, make espresso, water my plants, and enjoy the peace I paid for. But sometimes, standing up for yourself means standing up for everyone who's been steamrolled by someone in love with their own power. The lesson: paperwork doesn't lie. Power only lasts as long as people are willing to let you get away with it. So tell me, where's the line between enforcing the rules and just plain abusing authority? Ever had a neighbor or HOA try to bulldoze you with nonsense? Drop your story in the comments. I bet I'm not alone. And hey, if you believe in real justice, hit that like, and let's keep these folks honest, one PDF at a time.